Okay, good evening everybody. We're on chapter 28 in Parashat Pinchus, and we're starting on verse 4, but I would like to go back to verse 1 and read through till the end of verse 8, so we have a clear idea of the continual offering that is done daily, twice a day, once in the morning and once in the afternoon. So I'll read it in English first and then in Hebrew. Hashem spoke to Moses saying, "Command the children of Israel and say to them, my offering, my food, and my fires, my satisfying aroma, you shall keep watch to offer to me in its appointed time. And you shall say to them, this is the fire offering that you are to offer to Hashem. Male lambs in the first year, unblemished, 2 per day, as a continual olah offering." I just want to stop there and point. In the Hebrew, it says you're going to do shnayim liyom olah tamid. So it's twice a day, 2 per day, but it should say olos tamid, right? But it's olah tamid, and we're going to discuss that. Why is it in the singular fashion? And verse 4, and 1 lamb you shall make in the morning, and the 2nd lamb you shall make in the afternoon. So it says esakavas echad, which means 1. Whereas when we talk about the 2nd, it says esakavas hasheni, 2nd. He's going to point out, he's wondering, the Kli Yakar wonders, why doesn't it say Rishon and Sheni? It's very strange to use the word Echad and then Sheni. It should say first and then 2nd, not 1 and then 2nd. And then, what does it include? With the 10th ephah of fine flour as a meal offering, mixed with a 1/4 hin of crushed oil. It is a continual olah offering that was performed at Mount Sinai for a satisfying aroma, a fire offering to Hashem. And its libation is a 1/4 hin of 1 lamb, for the 1 lamb. Again, kevus ha'echad, that's fine. To be poured in the holy, a libation of hard drink for Hashem. The 2nd lamb, he says, ves ha'kevus hasheni, is going to be just like the earlier one, and like its libation shall you make a fire offering for a satisfying aroma to Hashem. What I'd like to point out now is, if you don't have it in front of you, but if you go back into Exodus chapter 29, verses 39 through 41, it's identical. And what's identical also is that the 2nd offering is mentioned twice, but it doesn't really mention the first one twice. I'll read it, now I'm going to read it in Hebrew and you'll see what I mean.
Exodus what?
It's Exodus chapter 29, verses 39 through 41. Identical. V'daber Hashem al Moshe lemor, tzav es b'nei Yisrael, v'yamarta aleihem, es karbani lachmi le'ishay reach nichochi, tishmeru lahakriv li b'modo. V'yamarta lehem, zeh isha asher tikrivu LaHashem kvasim b'nei shana temimim shnayim liyom olah tamid, not olos tamid. Es hakevus echad taseh b'boker, v'es hakevus hasheni taseh b'arbayim. So we see the word echad and sheni. Pointed that out already. V'asir zeif asos l'mincha v'lula b'shem l'katif revisahim. Olas tamid asuy b'har Sinai l'reach nichoach yishalado noi v'nisko revisahim l'kevus ha'echad b'kodesh hesek nesek shecher la'Hashem. V'es hakevus hasheni. So he's now repeating the 2nd one twice. Ta'aseh ben arbayim kaminchas haboker u'kenisko ta'aseh isha reach nichoach la'Hashem. Okay, so he has a lot more to say about the 2nd offering than he does about the first. So we open the Kli Yakar, chapter 28, verse 4. It's a kevus echad ta'aseh b'boker. 1 lamb you do in the morning. Midaka Amar, from the fact that it says, right, later in that verse, the es hakevus hasheni, and the 2nd one, right, you know, you speak English, we all speak English. 1, 2nd. No, that's not normal. You say 1st, 2nd. So he points this out that it says 2nd, Hayololomer es hakevus harishon. Shouldn't it have said the first, not one. And then that's the first question. Lama hizkir olas haboker rak pama achat. Why is it mentioned, this concept of offerings in the morning, only once? V'shel ben arboim hizkir shtei pamim. Meaning it says echad, but it doesn't say echad b'boker. But when it says sheni, it says sheni ben arboim. Okay? So the one that's done in the morning doesn't go into great detail. He does repeat the first, or let's say one. And we know that one is talking about the morning. But he doesn't mention the word boker, and he doesn't go into great detail as he does with the second offering, which is done in the afternoon, in verse 8. As I mentioned, if you look in Exodus chapter 29, verses 39 through 41, it's almost word for word, that you have the same thing, the same questions that we have to ask here, we could have asked there. In the Midrash Tanchuma, the Midrash starts by asking on this verse, or looking at this verse and taking it to heart. This is Isaiah chapter 1, verse 21. We're only taking part of the verse. He's referring to something that happened, right? Jerusalem is about to be destroyed. There's sin is rampant, and he's thinking about the good old days, and he says, righteousness lodged in her. We're talking about Yerushalayim, the city. Righteousness lodged in her. Yalin, if you know a little bit of modern Hebrew, the word malon, right? A hotel is from that word, to sleep over. Yalin is to sleep over. Tzedek, which is righteousness, slept in her. That's in Isaiah 1, verse 21. Which, what does that mean? Ein adam lon b'Yerushalayim v'avera biyodo. A man did not go to sleep in Yerushalayim with sin in his hand. Tamid shel shachris. This is how we know that the offering that was done in the morning, the continuous offering, the tamid of the morning, was mechaper. It atoned upon the sins al averos shel kol halayla that might have occurred over the entire night. And the tamid shel bein arabayim, and the tamid, the continuous offering that was done in the late afternoon, that was mechaper al averos shel kol hayom, that transpired, any sins that transpired during the day, that late afternoon offering atoned for. And it's also mentioned in Micha, that's chapter 2, verse 1. I'll read in English first. He doesn't bring the whole verse down. Woe to those who devise iniquity, this is the part he brings down, and plan evil upon their beds. HaChoshvim ra al mishkavotam. At the morning light they carry it out. La'or haboker ya'asuha. And then the rest of the verse, and for there is power in their hand. So what do we learn from here? Mikan, shahalayla eina zman hapu'ula. That the nighttime is not the time for action. It might be the time for evil thoughts or schemes, but in actually fulfilling them into action, the nighttime is not really that time. The nighttime is only the time for thoughts. There's two types of words here to describe thoughts: hirhur and machshavas. So the nighttime is only the time for these types of thoughts to do sin, but the sin isn't done. V'cheta hirhur hu echad. So the idea of having evil thoughts, that's already a sin, but that's only one sin. And that's ein sheni lo, meaning that there was never a follow-up, there was never an action. It was just the thoughts alone that took place at night. Now, is it really possible to have thoughts, bad thoughts, evil thoughts, and no action? That's why it says, yes, es hakeves echad taseh b'boker. Since it's only coming to atone for one thing, one sin, and that's why it's called echad, not rishon. It's one keves, you do in the morning. It's coming to atone for those evil thoughts you had upon your bed. It's entirely possible the person the next day would have regret on his evil thoughts. It's very possible that he won't actually act on those thoughts that he had the night before. So it's coming to atone for the thoughts alone. And that's why it says the language one. It's only one sin and there's no secondary sin that needs atonement. That's why it only mentions this idea of olas haboker, the offering in the morning, and the word morning is only used once, and it doesn't repeat it like we do see a repetition for the second afternoon offering. But any sin that was taken place during the day, kaful bli safek, it's actually two, it's doubled. The sin is doubled because you have the action and you have the thoughts. Because even though you thought about it the night before, when you actually do it, you're thinking about it again. You don't sin without thinking. If you do sin without thinking, it's not really a sin. Okay. It's called anus. You're forced, and there's many excuses, right? You weren't paying attention at all. But here you're paying attention. That when you actually are doing it, I might have skipped something, I'll just go back. Of course, when you're actually doing the sin, you're also thinking about it. So there's no doubt that you're not doing the sin without the thought. And that being the case, of course it has to be the case, otherwise, right? Because mazid or shogeg, in other words, if you're doing it with thought, you're mazid of the shogeg. If you're doing it without thought, it would only be anus, it would only be onus. And of course, there's no need for atonement for a sin that was done in a forceful way, or purely accidental way. That's why it's necessary for the afternoon offering to atone for two types of sins. Al-Hirur, on the thoughts, and the Al-Hamaseh, and on the action. That's why it's mentioned the afternoon offering, Ben Arboim, is mentioned twice. And from what it says, or what we said earlier about Isaiah, Ein Adam Lan B'Yushalayim U'Biyodo Avon, that a man does not go to sleep in Yerushalayim. When it says man, it doesn't mean male, it means mankind. So a person, I should say, does not go to sleep in Yerushalayim with sin in his hand. Lama lo amru she'ein adam kam mimipato u'biyodo avon. So why doesn't it say that a man doesn't get up from his bed and sin is in his hand? The reason is, when it says in his hand, it's talking about action. Mashmish medaber chet hamase nasa biyadayim mamish. Biyodo, right, in his hand, that signifies action. And he hadn't yet acted on it when he got up out of his bed. So if that's the case, at night, there's no sin in his hand. Because we talk about the sin of thought that's not in his hand, it's not in action. And this inclusion comes to make us understand, helps us to understand that the offering, I'm going to just add the words, the afternoon offering, for the offering it atones even on the sins of the day, even though there was both the thought and the sin and the action. And how much more? That's the day. That was the daytime offering. At the end of the day, atones for all the actions during the day. And how much more so does the morning offering atone only for the thoughts alone, which is why it was singular and used the concept of one, and it wasn't repeated twice. But we're still stuck with one of the other questions. It says Ola Tamid. It says Shnayim Liyom Ola Tamid. 2 in the day as a burnt offering, a continuous burnt offering. But it's Ola, which is singular and not plural. It still should have been plural. Olos Tamid Miboy Leile Leimar. In other words, grammatically speaking, it should have been pluralized. The word Ola should have said Olos. But of course we know Hashem wrote the Torah, right? He dictated every letter to Moses, and there has to be a lesson in every anomaly, in every grammatical, we're not going to call it a mistake, in every grammatical structure that seems out of place. Venira Shehei Machreach Kushyazu Amru, that by necessity of this question we're going to say Shekol Echad Mechupa Mechaper Al Inyan Bifnei Atzma, that each one of these two, even though it's like one concept, you have a continuous offering, but it's 2 different times, they actually atone for their own concepts. Sharei Shneim Ola Achat. Even though each one is atoning for its own concept, there's still 2 parts of one whole. But they have V'lameh Chelkam Hakatuv L'Shnei Zmanim. But yet, why does the verse, or why does the Torah, separate them into 2 distinct times? To really get this across to us, that the Shachris, the morning offering, atones for what happened at night, and the Shel Arvis is Mechaper al Shel Hayom, and the evening offering atones for what happens at night. Now, just to bring this down, because we're going to turn the page in a second. Even though we're talking about offerings, and we don't have the temple, unfortunately, it should be rebuilt sooner in our days with Hebrew Menu, but we do have prayer which replaces the bullocks, which replaces these offerings. And when we pray 3 times a day, I know that women are not as obligated in the same way men are in prayer, but get your husbands, get your future husbands up, make sure they go and daven 3 times a day, because this is a way to bring kapara, atonement, for ourselves and for the Jewish people, because the continuous offerings we don't have, but our prayers are replacing that, and therefore we really need this atonement. It's a good idea for ourselves, for our own sake, for our family, for our own spirituality, but it's also what Kli Yisrael needs more now than ever before. Okay? Amnam, lefi darkenu nir lefarish. However, according to our way, where it seems like the best way to explain this, remember, if you look back in Genesis chapter 1, verse 5, it says, Vihi Erev, Vihi Boker, Yom Echad. Now that question could have been asked then.
It did was.
By us, by everybody. Why doesn't it say Rishon? Yeah, exactly. So Ulamala, but Parshas Breshis Kasavka. We already said it. Over there. Shulchach Ne'amar. Yom Echad. Why does it say in the beginning in Genesis? Right? And I'll just quote it for those who are not familiar with it. In the beginning of God's creating the heavens and the earth, when the earth was astonishingly empty, with darkness upon the surface of the deep, and the divine presence hovered over the surface of the waters, God said, let there be light, and there was light. God saw the light was good, and God separated between the light and darkness. God called the light day, and to the darkness he called night. There was evening, and there was morning one day. But if you go on, you see, it was in second, third, fourth, and fifth day, right, all the way through, it says second day, third day, fourth day. So the first also should have said Rishon. So there's a very important point. He says, Lahotzi milev haminim ha'omri. This was in order, God, in his wisdom, put these words there, in his wisdom, to remove from the hearts of heretics, to straighten people out, right? So that we don't go off the derech, so that the people who are off the derech come around. Mi shabara boiker lo bar erev. What did the heretics say? That whoever created the evening was not the same God that created the morning, or vice versa. But guess what? But because they would think that if you have one, if you're telling me there's only one God, it's impossible, because how do you have two opposites to come out of one God? This is their dilemma. You have good and evil. How can they come out of one God? You have light and darkness. You have day and night. How can they come? It must be there's more than one God. Akin Amar, that's why the verse says Yom Echad, one day. She'erev v'boker kol yomo shel Echad baruch hu. That both day and night, they're all considered one day, and it's all considered one from God. Because it was one power, it was one God that created both. You know, He created yin and yang, good and evil, right? He created the devil. And also the fact that it says regarding the plural, which we thought it should say olos, it says olah tamid, it's one olah. Kishneim olah achas, because even though one's in the morning, one's in the evening, one's on thought and alone, and the other one's on thought and action, there's still one olah to one God. Umasha shel shachar nishchat b'marav. Now think about this, it's really crazy. The morning offering is actually slaughtered in the west. Laharos, to show what? To teach. Shum chaper leveru shel laila. Right? The one in the morning, we said, it atones for the sins at night. And that's why it's slaughtered in the west. The tamid shall be in Rabbi, the one that's done in the evening, in the afternoon, late afternoon, is nishchat b'mizrach, is slaughtered in the east. It's like the opposite of what you would have thought. To teach us that it's atoning for the sins that took place the entire day. Even though the sun is setting in the west, then in the morning, where the sun's coming up in the east, but we're slaughtering in the west. And the evening or the late afternoon, the sun is setting in the west, we're slaughtering in the east. So, okay. So I just want you to see in the verse itself, it says, okay, let me just show you. There's a Rashi here. And it says, Shnayim liyom, 2 per day. This is to be understood, kipshuto, according to simple meaning. But Rashi says, v'ikaro bo l'lamed, even though that's a simple explanation, but the very fact it's written comes to teach us. Why does it have to say Shnayim liyom? We already know that. Shunishchatim, because these continual offerings should be slaughtered keneged hayom. Keneged hayom means opposite the sun. Tamid shel shachar, the continual offering in the morning is b'marav, is in the west, where the rising sun's rays fall. Not where the sun's rays are, but where they fall. V'shal bein arboim, and the one in the evening, b'mizrachan shel tabaot, it's to the east of the rings, because there was a set of rings there, so it's done in the east. So that was to upset the thoughts in the heart of the heretics, that there's more than one God. The whole thing of Judaism is Shema Yisrael, one God, unify everything. And then he says, Umasha tamid shel shachar, I'm sorry. Then he says, Yesh omrim, shahapach makom shchitatan, that the reason for this reversal of where you would have thought, right? In the morning you would have thought you do in the east, and in the afternoon you thought you would do in the west. The reason for the reversal, lahares machshavas oivdei shemesh v'yareach, to ruin the thoughts, to upset those religions who hold they serve the sun and the moon, and to teach them to teach them that everything comes from one God. Blessed is His name, and he should be blessed. So this is the end of that piece.